Lhakpa, Abhishek, and me started to discuss the old version, and then Lhakpa and me made suggestions how we could make it stronger, a bit shorter, like suggested some changes, like even one character was cut out of the play, and Abhishek was very open. We had good discussions, and then he really sat down and rewrote the play, especially the second act, and changed things. And from my point of view, this play became stronger through this, much stronger. So this was like already a long process where we discussed the play a lot and wrote emails forward and backward, like about what to change, how to change, and then Abhishek made a very strong suggestion that was wonderful. And then even when we started to work on the play, it's like always, then you change some things. But this was a very good process first, and then doing the play. I mean, for example, me, I have experience as the theater director, so I know maybe how to stage the play, a strong play, how to do it. But Lhakpa, he knows the Tibetan culture much better than me. He knows what's happening, what's going on inside Tibet. So he said to me, he explained to me, like, in a way, how is the nun in the monastery? What do you think? How is Desher thinking? Why is she doing this? So I learned a lot from him, explaining, how is it life inside the monastery? What is the Rinpoche doing? What is this relationships about the Chinese officer? Like he knows these things. A ritual. How is a Tibetan prayer? So I don't know how the Tibetan feels and thinks. And for this, I needed our Tibetan cast, Lhakpa. We discussed a lot. They explained me. They told me about their experience, about their families. Also, sometimes something happened to part of their families, things they witnessed, their life stories. So for me, this was much more than just directing a play. It was becoming to know my Tibetan cast, their life stories, and understanding their view on what's happening inside Tibet. And out of their stories and their wishes, we created this play, I would say. And so I'm also very thankful that they shared all this to me, and that I could learn so much. Sure, I read things, I know things about the Tibetan issue, but it's very different when you talk to people. You also met other people that came from Tibet, that had been in prison. So we try to understand really from eye to eye, also from people, what is going on at the moment in Tibet, what is happening. And this was also a very emotional process, sure, because it's a very sad story. And it's not it's a fictional story, but about something that is happening every day. So if you do an older play, sometimes you try to think about, okay, how can we adapt it to today? How can we make it contemporary? But this is a play that is so contemporary, so sad contemporary. That this. There were many moments I was very touched, talking to them, listening to the cast, because the situation is very bad inside China, inside Tibet, and there's not so much hope. And that's why we have to, I think it's so important that we keep the awareness for the Tibetan issue in the world, that people see, look, this is happening. And not only to the Tibetans, to the Uyghurs. Many things are going on in Hong Kong. We don't know how it will end up in Taiwan in the next years. We have to create awareness for that. So and I would say we became a very strong family in this rehearsal process. If you really open up, share your stories, build up trust, what is very important. Then you are not only colleagues, but you come together as a group. And we had it was like we had some volunteers were coming from Europe to join the project, like former acting students of mine, 2 from Germany, one acting student from Belgium. So then we had the Indian people working on the administrative things, organization part. So we had Germans, Belgium, Indians, Tibetans. So it was also a wonderful mixture of cultures that came together and exchanged and learned from each other. So this, for me also, this was a very unique rehearsal process. And it's always a big challenge to direct a play in a language I don't understand. So because they are talking in Tibetan, I speak a little bit Tibetan, but really not much. So most of the words I did not understand. So, but I have then the English text at my side. So I have to. So theater is not about words; it's more about actions. What is happening between the people on stage, between the figures? What are the actions? What are the aims? So, and this is interesting. I love this. I did this many times before in other countries to work also, or in the Tibetan workshops, acting workshops. But it's very interesting that because you start to look on the bodies, if they are really interacting, if they are changing each other, you can see it. You can talk a lot, but if you don't see it in the body, then nothing happens. So that's why also we try to create a performance that is understandable as well for people that don't understand Tibetan language. We will always have subtitles, but I think it's also like a visual performance that you see that something is happening between the people. So I hope that the play is not just listening to words. There are many words because there are important things to say, but as I like to say, the text is only the head of the iceberg. So we had to make the iceberg visible as well. It's 95%. The text is only 5%. So what's going on between the people on stage? Yeah. So we try to create a very visual performance. We also use projections in the play that enrich the story, I think, and maybe open a different that it adds a different layer, a sensitive layer or sensual layer to the audience. We have the set is a huge gate, 6 meters wide, 3 meters high, like a Tibetan gate, a piece of Tibetan culture that is destroyed inside China, on wheels, so it's movable, and like the curtain, there's a curtain in the gate that we use as like a projection surface. Yeah, and so we create new spaces in moving the gate. So this was our try, and we use Tibetan music, Tibetan traditional music. Like we have 2 musicians from Tipa, wonderful musicians, and so what we wanted is we also use some elements from Tibetan opera. Like the try is on a way to tell a very strong contemporary story, but also give a feeling of the culture that is getting lost inside Tibet, because it is not allowed to live this culture really and to develop it from the Chinese government. So this is the mixture that people on one hand hear a story from today, but also get a feeling of this is what's getting lost, and this you don't understand in your head, but somewhere in your heart or in your body. Yeah.